How's it going, everyone? My name's Nate. I'm a knife maker here in Colorado. Welcome to Colorado Constitutional Community, where this YouTube page, we are about what I mean as myself, you, the viewer, and hopefully you're in the comments telling me you disagree or you agree, or how we can come to a conclusion, or how we can have a conversation regarding our constitutional rights, and the things going on in Colorado and what that has to entail with. I will be honest right now, this has to do more with the Second Amendment. Okay, going forward here, most likely this is going to have a lot to do with the Second Amendment, because here's what I believe. The First and the Second Amendment creates the rest of them. Okay, without the first two, you cannot have the rest. And when that is being tampered with, we should all be concerned. So with that being said, if you're a Democrat or a liberal, you're welcome here. Okay, as long as you're caring about the Constitution and the way it is, you're welcome. Okay. I think for too long the media has painted the picture that the gun ownership and people that care about the Second Amendment are white, right-wing conspiracy conservatives. It's not true, okay? There's a lot of Democrat people in the state of Colorado that care about their Second Amendment. And let me just remind some people here, it was not too long ago when it was Republicans helping put firearms in the hands of Black Americans in order for them to stand up and defend themselves against overstepping racist Democratic individuals. Not trying to split hairs here, but that is technically history, and it was not too long ago where that was happening. So, with that being said, in today's discussion, we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment and basically two parts of that, and why you should be paying attention to SB 25003, and at the end here, what we can do about it, and going forward, what we should be calling for as far as there should be consequences to those that wrote this bill, and what we should be going after, keeping them accountable, and how that is basically. I kind of went a little wordy there. And those terms are going to be arms and infringement, what that means. And also, I'm going to touch lightly on a well-regulated militia, what that means. I would love to have a subject matter expert on that. Because I have the idea of what I've researched and what I've believed for a long time. And so let's get started here. I don't want to take too much time. Arms. If you type in Google right now, definition of arms, period, this is what's going to come up. Weapons of war. Weaponry, firearms, guns, ordnance, cannon, artillery, armaments, munitions, instruments of war, war machines, military supplies, material. Here's some things about the Second Amendment you need to understand. It is not limited to a type or function of said weapons of war, weaponry, firearms, ordnance, cannon, artillery, armaments, munitions, blah, blah, blah. It does not give you a limit to, technically, when this was being written, there was the Brown Bess and there was the musket. One was rifled, one was not. The writers of the amendment knew that the technology of weaponry, or firearms, if you will, was evolving. Technically, they even had a semi-automatic muzzleloader at the point in time. I can't think of the name of it right now. That was an actual thing. They just couldn't afford to put it into war because it cost too much to make. Okay? But technically, there is no limitation of interpretation of what arms means. In fact, they use the same word meaning that I think was developed in the 1200s by the French, which means exactly what I just read to you. So technically, you have the right to a cannon, to a tank, to a Gatling gun, to an A-10 Warhog, to RPGs, to grenades, to anything and everything regarded to what the term of arms is. And again, the full part of that, part of the Second Amendment, is the right to keep and bear, meaning own and carry. Blank arms, whatever that is. Me personally, I don't have a need. I can't speak on behalf of you. I don't have a need for a belt fed. It'd be fun to go to the range one day and send some lead down range, but me personally, only one. I cannot speak on behalf of you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. But for me personally, practically for how I train with firearms and why I have firearms, I have no need for that. When the day comes, if the day comes, where we have a foreign invader internally creating a divide or whatever that is from a foreign country or domestically, That's a different story for another time, or if we're attacked, foreignly. But that's going to be a whole different ball of wax. But me personally, right now, my semi-automatic firearms are just fine. Okay. But again, arms does not limit it. And again, this was written when muskets, black powder firearms existed. And by the way, a muzzleloader, a black powder projectile firearm, is not considered an actual firearm. So I can't even use that term. A black powder rifle, pistol, is not technically a firearm. So they didn't say that the right to keep and bear muskets or brown besses. They said arms. Period. Okay. Touching briefly here, well-regulated militia, there is a difference between regulated and organized. Okay. Regulated, in my understanding, is us, we the people. We are the ones that made the majority of the militias. We are the ones that actually helped win the war. The majority of why the war was won was by militia, trained individuals, and guerrilla warfare. Organized was more what you saw in the blue coats. And now this day and age, organized is more your National Guard. Okay, this is where I draw the line. Okay, if you're Army trained, regardless if it says Colorado National Guard, you are still Army trained. You still are a part of that branch. Regulated means an individual, we the people, keep and bear, train, and are ready for the calling of our governor and or country to defend its borders, either state and or federal. Meaning that if our federal government became a tyrannical organization, the state of Colorado says we don't want to be a part of that, they secede, we would be called to defend its borders against against that tyrannical portion. Also, if there was a foreign invader that came in, the country would be called upon to take arms to defend itself. The Second Amendment was actually developed to protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. Okay. Going on, infringement. If you type in the definition of infringement, just to read a couple here: transgress, break, breach, disobey, defy, flout. Where's another one? Disobey, disregard, ignore, neglect, okay, overstep, exceed. Okay, so here's what I think with SB 25003, and starting to end the video here. You have the word infringement. What this basically bill is a mechanical pencil marker line across the top of it. Meaning it's crossing the line. It is truly infringing. Okay, if you have to pay for your constitutional rights to be, let me rephrase this. If you have to pay the state of Colorado to utilize your Second Amendment by getting permission from them, and you have to pay them throughout the whole process, that is an infringement upon itself. That does not help you keep and bear arms. That does not help you have the ease of obtaining. Okay. Again, when you have to pay the state to utilize your Second Amendment, that is an infringement in itself. Not to mention they're banning any semi-automatic firearm without having this permission card, which, by the way, there is a federal action being taken against the state of California and Illinois, seeing that they have truly actually infringed upon their people's rights, their Second Amendment rights. Okay, the FOID card technically is unconstitutional. A federal judge has deemed that, and there is action being taken against it. That's what the state of Colorado is wanting to do. Not to mention that we do not have the infrastructure on the sheriff department side, or county sheriff, and or the CBW. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the money for it, and it's going to take away resources. It's going to take away care from our parks. It's going to take away care from our mountains and wildlife. And it's not a good idea. It's not going to prevent crime. And sadly, as much as I want this to work to protect our kids in school, it's not going to do that. It's going to punish the law-abiding American citizen, the law-abiding Coloradoan, and that's not okay. Okay? I've already talked about how we can protect our kids, and that's expanding funding for our county sheriffs and SRT, SWAT team, SRT and SWAT teams, to where they have quality control still there. They don't change the standards, but they have more people in the ranks of that can alternate in and out of schools to protect those kids, and have a front sign on lawn saying protected by county sheriff, SWAT. Bam. Okay. And ending here, this is what I would like to see. Start calling Governor Polis, because this is going to take a while for this to truly pass. Technically, we're in a phase right now, to my understanding, that it's not technically on his desk. No one has signed off on it in the Senate, but as soon as it does, he has 10 days, basically. If he doesn't sign it, it goes into law, but we still have a year and a half for people in Washington, D.C., and federal judges to take notice of this and to get this amended and just vetoed right away. Sorry, I meant vetoed. Okay, if Governor Polis doesn't, which I hope he sees this and he does, okay, I don't want violence, again, I don't, but this is what we can do as far as call to action. Call Governor Polis, share this video, start making your own, start writing articles in newspapers, start getting involved in government. Here's what I would like to see, okay, every single bill writer of this, it's one thing for us, we the people, to sue the state because of this infringement of our Second Amendment. Okay, cool. Send that into lawyers so we can continue to have a good stance in this fight. More importantly, we need to P&G these people's political careers, mean they are persona non grata. They can no longer run for any part of politics in this state or other. That's where we should go. And I'll say this, and I'm going to say this in every single video. I'm good with letting go of the Second Amendment, rewriting the Second Amendment, completely rewriting the Constitution. As soon as we no longer have crime, more importantly, we no longer have corruption in our government on either side of the aisle, law enforcement and or military. That's when we can get rid of the Second Amendment. God bless, guys. Talk to you soon.